Hey, I'm Maybe Burke, and you're watching Makeup for Lost Time. This is my series for trans women and other people who feel like they missed a few classes when it came to learning about makeup. And today I want to talk about making your look cohesive with a little bit of color theory. Specifically, I want to talk about the differences in tones, and while makeup in general is really like choose your own adventure and playing by like your own rules and what you prefer to look like, there are certain things you can do to make sure that what you're doing feels a little more cohesive and all of the pieces go together. And while I think that in general rules are made to be broken, I also think that it's important to know what those rules are so that you can break them with intention. So right now I'm purposely doing a pretty intense dramatic eye so that we have this as a basis to talk about what choices I would make for the rest of my face. And we can look at what those options might look like. A really important part of this conversation is going to be talking about undertones. And in makeup in particular, you'll hear people talking a lot about cool tones and warm tones. Like this brown I'm applying right now is pretty warm. And so when I'm using browns like this, I'm gonna make sure to implement similar browns in the rest of my makeup. Now again, you can opt to not do that, but if you are looking to have a cohesive look, staying with the same undertone or in the same color family is gonna be your friend. And now I'm not talking about foundation. I'm going to stick with a foundation that matches my skin's undertone. But I'm talking about like your lip combo and your blush. All of the colors that make up that complexion can tie a look together. Now what I will do with foundation is go more full coverage because the look is pretty dramatic. Let me pop in a foundation that is darker and a little too warm, and we'll mix them. Because we love to experiment. And the first one I used is actually pretty light for me. Ooh, and it is still very light. We are in the dead of winter. Clearly it still does not match me. So maybe this isn't the best example. The last two Makeup for Lost Time videos I have done, my foundation has not matched me. I promise I know how to. But when I'm doing a more creative look, when I'm doing something a little more bold, I feel like matching it with a high coverage foundation is part of making the look more cohesive. Now, a reason I did this like warm brown look is because if you watch my other videos, I am very regularly wearing like pinks and specifically cool tones. So I figured for the video where I'm explaining how I make things look cohesive, I'd do something that's a little out of my ordinary. So if you've been around before, you can get a better sense of what's different from my everyday looks. Typically, I usually leave like warms and browns for the fall. That's when they'll show up the most in my looks. But I'm not against using them regularly. It just depends on what I'm wearing and what I want to look like. So, I typically haven't been using a ton of bronzer in my looks in general. I've really been like a pink blush girl, but bronzer's all about warming up the face, and staying cohesive with a brown eye look is gonna mean warming up the face with a little bronzer. And yes, I have cream bronzers, but for some reason I just went right in with a powder. And cohesive also means not missing the nose, making sure that color gets on every surface, up to and through the forehead as well. And then when I'm looking at my blushes, I typically go with my pretty pinks, but today I'm gonna pull something a little more orange, something warmer that will match the undertone of my eyeshadow. So I can take that right where the bronzer ends, and it blends right in. Get that on the tip of the nose, a little bit on the forehead. And now, would pink blush be wrong with this? Not necessarily. But if you're looking to be cohesive, keeping things in that same color family is a good way to go. Now, similar to the reason I use a full coverage foundation, if I'm doing a fun and creative look like this, for social media, I'll definitely want to come match that bold energy with an equally bold lip color. And there you see there's a similar pop to my eyes and my lips. However, ooh, my lips are gonna be mad at this. Some makeup artists would recommend matching a bold eye with a neutral, subtle lip. Their argument being that there should just be one main focal point of the look. But with this, I still went with a subtle lip that was in the brown family. And this way, my eyes are the star of the show. Now again, these rules are made to be broken, and I don't think there is a wrong way to do your makeup so long as you like what it looks like. But if you're feeling like your makeup lacks cohesion, try being mindful of the colors and the undertones you're using.